everyone, my name is Angela, and today we're here with our second guest, Ashley Brosnan. Ashley is a manager at Australian Trade and Investment Commission and leads the economics and analysis team at Austrade here in Sydney. He's also an author of the Trade and Investment Megatrends report alongside CSIRO. Prior to working at Austrade, he worked with NSW Treasury and was previously an academic at Faculty of Economics and Finance at the Queensland University of Technology, where he received the Prime Minister's Endeavour Australian Chung Kong Award. So, hi Ashley, how are you?
Hi, great to speak with you.
Yeah, me too. Should we start with, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, certainly. So I'm an economist and a trade policy professional, but I've done a lot of other things in my life. I was a DJ and a radio presenter and an events manager early in my life. I've worked in a chicken farm before, worked in the gas industry, financial services. So it's been a varied career, but really loving the work that I'm doing now.
So could you tell us a little bit about what you do day to day?
Yeah, certainly. With Austrade, it's focused on supporting exporters find new markets internationally and also attracting international FDI into Australia. So my work focuses on providing advice on current macroeconomic issues facing the domestic and global economy, particularly around issues facing the global trading system and global investment.
Okay, so you had a lot of experiences, but what do you like about your current job?
So the thing I love about my current job is I think the ability to be curious. I find that I'm always learning things. I'm always talking to a different industry or a different type of client, having to learn quite a bit about that industry or that sort of trend, particularly I think in this sort of era that we're in. There's a lot of shifts in the global economy, and so sort of faced with something new that I constantly have to learn about, which I love.
Yeah, you mentioned that there has been a lot of shift in the global economy and the industry itself. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the industry has changed?
Yeah, certainly. I think what has changed over my career is that I think the speed and nimbleness required. I think in previous times, economists often produce long analysis, and I find that often executives in business, they need something sort of fast insights. So I think there's sort of a need to sort of be able to communicate insights in a really succinct way. And I think that's a skill that I've developed over time. The most important skill currently in my position is the ability to communicate with clarity and structure to sort of influence a sense maker for others. I think, it's not just about deep knowledge of economics or econometric tools, though those things are important, but I think being able to communicate those influence a policy outcome or a business outcome, I think are important.
In your profession, what kind of people do you enjoy interacting with?
I love working with people who are curious and interested in the world and want to do good in the world. And I think that, obviously has driven why I sort of work at Austrade. I find myself working with a whole range of really bright, passionate people that are really eager to sort of support business. So, yeah, that's, I think, driven me to follow an economic development path.
Back when you just started out in the profession, what do you wish you'd know?
I think having a technical skill, I think is really important in your career. The ability to, say, conduct CBA analysis or modelling analysis, that's, sort of like a hard technical skill. I think it's really important. And university isn't very helpful in this regard. I think it tends to give you a broad knowledge of a range of topics and teaches you to take an issue that you maybe don't know about and research it, but it doesn't give you sort of like a hard skill that, say, a more technical education might give you. So I wish I'd developed that earlier in my career, and I think it would have set me up and made my earlier career a little bit easier.
So you're a manager now. So this goes to a leadership management type of question. So what do you wish you'd known before taking your first management role?
I think the importance of influence. So as you sort of move up in your career, it's very important, you develop networks and you develop connections with other people. And I think influence becomes increasingly important as you move up the sort of the hierarchy in an organisation. So the ability to not only have the technical ability, but the ability to make your case in a very succinct way and able to build support throughout an organisation around an idea or a course of action. I think that's a really important skill that you sort of don't necessarily have, early in your career, and you need to develop it very quickly.
So you mentioned that previously you were in different fields, but if you didn't choose the field you're in now, where would you be right now?
That's an interesting question.
Mm.
I mean, essentially, I sort of am in where I wanted to be. And
Mm.
my early career, I think I felt that I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't necessarily understand the best way to pursue that. But I think if I wasn't doing this current career, I started out in marketing, and I was really interested in marketing and events marketing early in my career. And I think putting data with that, I think would have been a really powerful course of action. But I love what I do now.
So what makes you happy other than your current job?
Like anyone, I love learning, I love reading, constantly sort of absorbing knowledge. I think connecting with others too. I think, building a relationship with a new connection, I think is a really enjoyable part of my work and my life. Also, having hobbies outside of work, whether it's exercise or a creative activity.
Do you still DJ?
I'd love to actually, but unfortunately I had to retire. There's only 24 hours in a day, so I had to
Yeah.
I had to
Mm.
pick how I would use my time. But
Yeah.
sometimes I do miss it.
Yeah, that sounds so wild. Oh my God, I want to do it. What, do you still have the equipment then?
No, I got rid of
Oh,
it. I
oh,
still have all my records though.
oh wow. That's wild. Okay, so you mentioned that you like reading. Do you have any books that you would recommend?
Yeah, so in terms of economics,
Mm-hmm.
I would probably recommend Amartya Sen, who is a Nobel Prize-winning economist who created the capability framework of development. And he wrote a book that I love and really influenced my career, Development as Freedom. And it's still a book I sort of think and refer to fairly frequently. I suppose the more recent book that people might enjoy, Matthew Klein and Michael Prentice, Trade Wars Are Class Wars. I read it just recently and really changed my thinking on the global finance and trading system and the impacts on ordinary people. So, it's a different view on the global economy, but I found it really engaging. Probably in terms of a less economics-based book is Ryan Holiday, The Obstacle is the Way. So he sort of applies stoicism to sort of say, often when you see a problem, the way is actually through the problem, not around it. And, we have to sort of push a bit harder. Ryan Holiday has been a really influential author for me. And I really recommend his blog. He's been writing for probably over a decade now. And, I think it's fantastic.
That's amazing. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people read these days.
You don't think that?
So,
Or podcasts?
yeah, podcasts or some like YouTube or something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, both Ryan Holiday has a podcast as well, so I
Oh,
recommend it.
oh, okay. So going to these mentoring questions. Yeah. So do you have a mentor? And if so, then how have they influenced you?
Yeah, so at different times I've sort of had sort of informal and formal sort of mentors, but really I think anyone can you can collect people along the way where you build a two-way relationship. So it's not sort of this sort of, I don't think you necessarily need to have this sort of structured relationship where you have sort of someone teaching you. You can actually build a really warm two-way relationship with people who are more senior than you. And generally, people are willing to help you along the way. They'll offer advice but you can also support them in their work and connect them with people who might help them. So it doesn't need to be a one-way relationship.
Yeah.
So sometimes that can be a manager or other people in your organization, but can also be people in your industry. I think reaching out for coffees with people in your sector and building a relationship with them is a really powerful way to develop yourself and also support other people as well.
So since you're a manager, I'm guessing your team members will be classified as your mentees?
Sure. I think as a manager, it's important to support and mentor your team members and coach them in their work. And, people, as I said, people have supported me along the way. So I try to sort of pass it forward and look after people who are developing in their careers as well. So, yeah, absolutely.
This is, I think, a tricky question, but how would you show others that you believe in them?
So I think offering them new challenges, sort of developing people by, offering them a new challenge or a high profile piece of work, and showing that you have the confidence in them to develop. So, yeah, absolutely.
Do you have a motto that you live by?
Yeah, so, I'm a Christian. So, John 13 is a quote from Jesus, which says, "A new command I give you, love another as I have loved you." And that's definitely how I've sought to live my life.
Okay, so second last question. What advice would you give to your younger self?
So many things, I think. It's sort of hard to sort of navigate your way when you don't necessarily know which way to turn. I think the advice I would give myself is, that you can do what you want to do. You just have to sort of be brave enough to do it and stick to it. Absolutely.
Okay, last question. So if you could describe yourself with an animal, what would it be?
I think I would be a bear.
Okay.
But I'm sort of quite grumpy in the morning, and I'm a little bit chubby and love to eat. So yeah, I'm sort of a bit like a bear through life.
Oh. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, that's it for today. Yeah, lovely to chat with you. Yes.
Thanks so much. Wonderful to meet.